So we're going to start with a kirtan featuring the Maha Mantra. All of you know the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
For many years, I was the director of academic outreach for ISKCON Los Angeles, and I also fulfilled the same role in other temples. So whenever we would do school programs, high schools or universities like that, we'd always start by chanting the Maha Mantra, and we would explain. There are only 3 words. Hare, everybody say Hare.
Hare.
Hare is a way of addressing Srimati Radharani, Krishna's eternal consort. Here we have Radha Krishna, so we're addressing Radharani when we say Hare. And then Krishna, everybody? Krishna is the name of the Supreme Being, the Supreme Person, God, which means that He's the all-attractive person. Every one of us thinks that we're attractive in some way, because we're smart, or we're beautiful, or we have money in our pocket, or some attractive force we feel we have. So God, Krishna, has all of those features in unlimited quantity. Since we're just minute parts and parcels of God, we have those attributes in tiny. We have some money for some time, not all time, because when you die, we say we leave everything behind, but it's not a fact. It's not that we leave it behind. We're taken away. We're taken away, and we go somewhere else. So the process of Krishna consciousness is to kind of predetermine that next destination. And then the 3rd word, Rama, everybody say?
Rama.
Rama is another name of Krishna, Krishna's first expansion, Balaram, or you could even say Lord Ram. And Ram indicates the source of the highest pleasure. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna Rama, we're asking the Lord and His eternal consort, Radharani, to please engage us in their service, because when you're serving God and His expansions and His eternal consort, it's the happiest position we can be in. Many people think that the happiest position is to be a CEO of some company or president of some big country, but that's all temporary. It's all temporary. And the perks that come with those positions, they don't last. But the perk of being a servant of Krishna, but even in this world, we see, if you have to be a servant, you'd rather be a servant of a big person than just some little person. When I was growing up, a child, I'm from Jamaica, an island, and my family is solidly middle class, but in that time in Jamaica, a middle class family could afford servants. We had a gardener, we had a maid for doing all the heavy work, because my mother was a school teacher. She didn't have time to do all the heavy work at home. But I could see even as a child that this woman is not happy. She comes to work every day, but she's grumpy like anything. It's just about the money. So service in this world is just about the money. But service to God, it's not about money. It's all about love. Like people say, God is love. So when we're chanting, we're also trying to reawaken that loving connection. And once we have that reawakened, our loving connection with Krishna, God, then we naturally love everyone, because everyone is part and parcel of God. Okay, so we're going to chant some preliminary mantras. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya
Vasari Gora Bhakta
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
If your camera doesn't show anything, is that okay?
Yeah. No, it's just saving power.
Okay, fantastic.
I can see from my screen that it's still recording.
It's advanced technology. One man
Srila
show.
Prabhupada used to say that we are not enemies of technology or machines, as long as they're used in Christian service. So the non-devotees, they, with great trouble and effort, they make this kind of wireless technology. You can send audio, video all over the place, live, and we take advantage of it. So we use it in Christian service. Don't be enamored. Don't think that this is the goal of life. But if you use technology in Christian service, then that's the perfection. So this evening we're going to be reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Srila Prabhupada himself stressed this addition of as it is. What does that mean? Because he himself stated there were at least 200 editions of Bhagavad Gita in English when he came in the 60s. What he specifically entitled his As It Is, because many people, they comment on the Bhagavad Gita without knowing who Krishna is or accepting what Krishna says about himself. So Prabhupada said, that's not teaching, that's cheating. Same word, just rearrange the letters. Teacher or cheater. So he specifically entitled his Bhagavad Gita As It Is, because he's giving us exactly what Krishna wants us to have. Krishna stated back in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhanam vinashaya chariskritam dharma samsthapanataya sambhavam yuge yuge, that I appear in every millennium to do what? Paritranaya sadhanam. You are the sadhus, people who will take time out of their busy lives to hear what Krishna has to say about himself and our existential situation. That's the sadhu. Sadhu, or the female form is sadhvi, takes time out of life to hear spiritual knowledge from the proper source. Not just anybody claims to be an advanced spiritualist and you want to hear from them. No, the first question you should ask is, where did you learn? Where did you get your knowledge from? There has to be a chain of teachers going all the way back to Krishna himself. So that you'll find in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's lineage. It's called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. His spiritual master, he's my spiritual master, by the way. I initiated in 74st and 76nd. And Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master is Bhaktisiddhanta, Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all the way back to Lord Chaitanya and beyond, back to Krishna, Lord Brahma and Krishna. So if somebody claims to be presenting spiritual knowledge, they want to give a spiritual education to the world, where did you get your knowledge from? And even materially, we see like that. I'm an Veda. He shows up somewhere and says, I'm a lawyer. Okay, which law school did you graduate from? They're not just going to take his word for it. So you always have to be ready to prove your credentials. Where did you get your knowledge from? And if it's self-manifest, then we're not interested. We want to see that connection. Our path is called the Avaroha Panta. Avaroha Panta means you figure it out and you keep increasing your knowledge and you think you're getting somewhere, but it's just speculation. And therefore regularly you see in the news, we used to think that T-Rex dinosaurs were like, but now we have a different idea. That means you didn't really know. But what they teach as if they do know. So you go to a science class and they tell you something, you better regurgitate what they told you. You can't tell them that I don't believe you, and then kick you out. But they themselves regularly change. We used to think it was like this, but now we know differently. But that's not real knowledge. Real knowledge is the Avaroha Panta, the path of descending knowledge. Krishna spoke to Brahma, Brahma spoke to Narada, Narada to Vyasa, and like that, the same knowledge is coming down in a simple succession. And now we have it in the forest in written form. Previously, it was an oral tradition, because the students were Shrutidhar, means whatever they heard once, they remember for life. Nowadays, the closest thing we have to Shrutidhar, it's just a joke, ladies, don't get mad at me, but it's the wife. The wife doesn't forget anything. You guys should always remember that. You get married, your wife does not forget anything. She'll look at you one day like, and she's going, what did I do? What's wrong? Don't you remember? Oh my God, what did I forget? Anniversary? No, I never forget that. Her birthday? No. Some little thing that happened and you forgot, she didn't forget. So that's the closest thing we have to Shrutidhar nowadays. Women have a very good memory, but not perfect. But in the past, previous ages, everyone was Shrutidhar. They would hear something once, a lesson, philosophy or math or whatever. They hear once and they remember for life. So there was no need of books. Because many so-called scholars nowadays say, what do you mean this tradition, 3,000, 5,000 years ago? There was no book. Yeah, that's because they didn't need them. Doesn't mean there was no knowledge. Doesn't mean there was no knowledge. And like I said, they keep changing. They keep changing. But we are presenting the same thing that we've been given. So now we're in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone has Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
Which is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So right away, somebody may say, if it's confidential, then why is it written in this book? Because spiritual knowledge is a little different from your secrets. If you don't hear it from the right source, and if you don't have the right mentality, even though you hear it, you don't understand it. So it remains confidential. And that's why, again, there were so many editions of Bhagavad Gita existing here in the United States and other English-speaking countries, but nobody was becoming a devotee of Krishna. Because they weren't taking it as something factual. It was just, even till today, they're still doing that. They're still saying. I saw a BBC special a few years back where they sent some guy to India to figure out what is this Somaras. Somaras. Because they read in the Vedas that the sages would take Somaras. So they came to the conclusion there's some kind of a mildly intoxicating herb that grows in the Himalayas. And these, ancient sages, they would live in the mountains. They would take this intoxicating beverage, and then they would sit down and write all this kind of stuff. So up to today, they're still not taking it seriously. And the sad part, that I've said many times, but some of you are from India, when the British conquered India, you could say, they were ruling India for some time, they came across this kind of sophisticated, not just spiritual philosophy, but math, science, going back thousands and thousands of years. How do you subjugate people who are more advanced than you? So they systematically, and remember this, it's not my speculation, it's a fact. They systematically taught the young Indians, the intelligentsia, that it's all just mythology. Yes, it may be very poetic, it may seem attractive, but it's just, you don't really think there's a guy named Brahma with 4 heads and 4 arms. Come on, who would believe that? Even though there were so many temples, Shiva, Brahma, like that. Do people make that up? They didn't make it up, it's a fact. And not only that, if you look all around the world, every ancient culture, even the Aborigines in Australia, they all believe that there's a wind god, there's a sun god, there's a moon god, everywhere. In recent times, the Romans, the Greeks, believed the same thing. So were they all just intoxicated? No, maybe there really is a sun god. Maybe there really is a moon god. But the so-called intelligence of today, they say, no, it's all just mythology. Isn't it wonderful that the same mythology arose all around the planet? And there was no internet, there was no telephone. And according to them, there was actually even no cross-cultural contamination. Because how would the Aborigines get from Australia to India or to Europe? Australia is an island out in the ocean. They supposedly weren't sophisticated enough to have boats. They certainly didn't have planes. So my point is, when we hear Bhagavad Gita, we have to approach it with this mentality. That it's factual, whatever is stated here by Krishna is factual, and whatever Krishna's devotee, Srila Prabhupada, states in his commentary, it's all factual. When we approach it with that mood, then we get the most out of it. And you'll see what I mean when we read today's verse. So tonight's verse is text 3. I will recite the verse line by line. You can try your best to repeat. Asharanaya Purusha
Ashurana Purusha
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Dharmasya parantapa
Aprapyamang Nivartante Mrityu Sangsara Vartmani
Samsara Vartmani
Ashradadana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasya Parantapa
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Ashradadana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasya Parantapa
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani Ashradadana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Dharmasya Parantapa
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Ashrachana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Dharmasya Parantapa
Aprapyam Nirvatante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mritya Samsara Vartmani.
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Anybody else?
Asradadhaya Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasya Parantapa
Dharmasya Parantapa
Aprapamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Nittu Samsara Bhartmani
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Ashradadhana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasyasya Parantapa
Dharmasya Parantapa
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. That's right.
Sure. Asradadhana Purusha
Ashradadana Purusha
Dharmasya Parantapa
Dharmasya Parantapa
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Aprapyamam Nivartante
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani
Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. Anyone else? Okay, we'll do the synonyms. Ashradadana,
Ashradana
those who are faithless.
Those who are faithless.
Purusha,
Purusha,
such persons.
such persons.
Dharmasya,
Dharmasya
toward the process of religion.
towards the process of religion.
Asya,
Asya
this.
this.
Parantapa,
Parantapa,
O killer of enemies.
O killer of the enemies.
Aprapya,
Aprapya,
without obtaining.
without obtaining.
Mam, me.
Me.
Nivartante,
Nirvatante,
come back.
come back.
Mrityu,
Mrityu
of death.
Of death.
Samsara,
Samsara,
in material existence.
in material existence.
Vartmani,
Vartmani,
on the path.
on the path.
So, Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Please repeat. Those who are not faithful
Those who are not
Those who are not faithful
in this devotional service
in this devotional service
cannot attain me,
cannot attain
cannot
me,
attain me.
O conqueror of enemies.
O
O
conqueror of enemies.
Therefore they return
Therefore they return
to the path of birth and death
to the path of birth and death
in this material world.
In this material world.
So, Srila Prabhupada's purport is a little bit on the lengthy side, but let's read through it in its entirety and then we'll say a few words. Srila Prabhupada says, the faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is a most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that faith is a complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, chapter 31, text 14, Yata Taror Mola Nishechanena, Shipyanti Tatskanda Vitopashaka, Pranopaharacha Yatendriana, Tataiva Sarvahanam Achyuteja. And that means by giving water to the root of a tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves. And by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and all other living entities. End of translation. Prabhupada continues. Therefore, after reading Bhagavad Gita, one should promptly come to the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life, that is faith. Now, the development of that faith is the process of Krishna consciousness. There are three divisions of Krishna conscious men. In the third class are those who have no faith. Even if they are officially engaged in devotional service, they cannot achieve the highest perfectional stage. Most probably, they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they haven't complete conviction and faith, it is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive. And as soon as they are economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take to their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literatures of devotional service and has attained the stage of firm faith is called a first-class person in Krishna consciousness. And in the second class are those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scriptures, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna Bhakti, or service to Krishna, is the best course, and so in good faith have taken it up. Thus they are superior to the third class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures nor good faith, but by association and simplicity are trying to follow. The third class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the second class, he does not fall down, and for the first class person in Krishna consciousness, there is no chance of falling down. One in the first class will surely make progress and achieve the result at the end. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, he has not yet gained adequate knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes these third class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward karma yoga and jnana yoga, and sometimes they are disturbed. But as soon as the infection of karma yoga or jnana yoga is vanquished, they become second class or first class persons in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into three stages and described in Srimad Bhagavatam. First class attachment, second class attachment, and third class attachment are also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that it is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them, there is very little hope of gaining perfection. Thus, faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvashesha Srinivani Paschasageshtarane Om Agyana Timarandasya Agyana Janashanakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shnapitam Jena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavaksha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagada Raghunatam Vatam Tam Sudiva Sadvaitam Savadutam Prajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagada Lalita Shri Vishnu Kanvatasya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishnavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vansha Kalpatobhya Shakti Pasindhu Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Parshavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara and Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, welcome to the winter semester. Your professor here at Master Skips is actually Adman Vedan. I'm just a visiting professor.
Visiting professor.
So, yesterday we celebrated the divine appearance of
Lord Nityananda.
Nityananda. That picture right behind Adman Vedan shows the Panchatattva. In the middle is Lord Chaitanya. To his right is, who is to the right of Lord Chaitanya? To his right, not our right, his right. Lord Nityananda,
Lord
yeah.
Nityananda.
And to Nityananda's right, Advaita Acharya. And on the opposite side, the left side of Lord Chaitanya, Gadadhar, yeah, and next to him, Srivas. So this is Panchatattva, God in 5 features. When Krishna comes, Prabhupada tells us, when he comes in person, when he came 5,000 years ago, because he's a supreme person, he orders. He presents the Bhagavad Gita to convince us to worship him, to become his devotee, to bow down to him. But because we are very unfortunate, especially in this age of Kali, we say, who is this person to order me to do anything? And knowing that, knowing our illicit mindset, every time Krishna comes, once in a day of Brahma, he comes in the Dwapara Yuga, and when he leaves, that's when Kali Yuga begins. So in that Kali Yuga, immediately following, he comes again as Lord Chaitanya. He's a supreme person, but he's in the mood of a devotee, to teach us how to become devotees of Krishna. And he comes with his, not with, like when Krishna comes, he comes with weapons. You think of all the, have you read Krishna book, all of you here? 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how many demons Krishna killed, even since childhood, babyhood. Immediately he was killing, Putana, Trinavarta, Shakatasura, etc., etc. But when he comes in this incarnation as Lord Chaitanya, his weapons are his expansions, beginning with Nityananda. Nitya Ananda. Nitya means eternal, Ananda means bliss. Every one of us, we want to be happy at every moment, if we're sane. Only an insane person seeks out unhappiness. We want to be happy. On a visceral level, we know this is our birthright, to be happy at every moment. So it's shocking, even though we know we live in a world of misery, there's practically misery at every step. Still, when something miserable happens, we're shocked. Because like I said, on a visceral level, we know we deserve, we want to be happy at every moment. So to become happy, one has to take shelter of Nityananda, to be eternally blissful. When Nityananda came, he came in the mood of a servant of Lord Chaitanya, even though he was senior by appearance, by birth, was almost 13 years older. When they met, of course they're always together, but externally when they met for the first time in this Leela, Lord Nityananda was 32 years old and Lord Chaitanya was 20 years old. They met in Navadvip. But again, although he was senior, superior by age, he had this mood of being the servant of Lord Chaitanya. And then Acharya, he was much older. He was in his 70s, I think, at that time. And he also had that mood of being a servant. So the point is, the highest bliss that Lord Chaitanya is teaching us is to be a servant of the Lord. Be in that mode of service. We don't like naturally to be servants, just like I was talking about that servant that my mother had when I was a child. Because it's a disadvantageous position. You're being told what to do, and you know, some people, my mother wasn't, but some people are very abusive towards their servants like that. So it's not a comfortable position. We'd much rather be master. I have my estate, I have my chauffeur, I have my gardener, I have my cook, I have my, but I am the central point. But no, ultimately this is what we're being taught by Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the central point. And when we consciously recognize that and serve Him, then everything falls into place. We become happy and we can spread that happiness to others. So there's a song, Nariya Gojume Nityananda Mahajan, Panihati Namahata Jiberachana, that Lord Nityananda, in order to make us fortunate, open a marketplace of the holy name. Because this was the mission of external mission of the Panchatattva, to spread the standing of Hare Krishna as the Yuga Dharma, as the means of making people happy. So every one of us, we have come in contact with this path. Krishna consciousness ultimately means Hare Krishna conscious. And as I say all the time, you can't be a Hare Krishna if you don't like to chant Hare Krishna. So you have to surrender to the chanting. It's a surrendering process, but you're not being asked to surrender to some mean person. You surrender to the holy name. And that surrender is manifest in two ways: by congregational chanting, when we come together we chant the holy name, or go out in the street chanting party. And then when we chant for our own spiritual advancement, it's japa, not the japa mala. Everybody here has japa mala? Yes? So there's one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Srila Prabhupada said that the members of the ISKCON, of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, must chant 16 rounds every day. So when we first come in contact, we may start with less, 2, 4, 6, 8, like that. That's how they used to teach on Henry Street when I joined in '73. As soon as you came as a visitor, they tried to convince you, start chanting at least 2 rounds a day. And then when you become accustomed to that, double it, 4, then 8, and then finally 16. Because that was Prabhupada's statement, you must chant 6. This is a minimum requirement for this age and in this particular line that we're in, 16 rounds a day. So that was Nityananda's gift. He opened this marketplace of the holy name. And what did he have to pay? The commodity was the holy name, and what did he have to pay? And it's related to today's purport, that's why I remembered it. Shradavana jana, hey, Shradavana jana. Shraddha, faith. That's the only price he's asking. Come with faith, faith in the holy name, faith in Krishna, faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. If you have that faith, then everything works out, as Prabhupada is stating clearly in today's purport. You must have faith. But it's not blind faith. Like I said, even just on this topic we were talking about, demigods. It's not blind faith. Any reasonable person examining history could see there must be something there. Again, otherwise, how could all these disparate communities all around the globe come to the same conclusion? There's a sun god, there's a god of the water, there's a god of wind. Everybody. And you can say, well, the Aborigines. What about the Romans and the Greeks? You eulogize them. Today, they're talking about all these philosophers and scientists from Greece and Rome. They eulogize them, that they're wonderful people. But they believed in demigods. They had temples to demigods. So why take the so-called science and art and poetry from their culture, but not the demigod worship? No, that's mythology. They openly call it Greek mythology. Why don't you call their science mythology also? You see, they pick and choose according to their mentality. According to their mentality. So we're very fortunate that we've come in contact with a personality, Srila Prabhupada, who can very clearly explain these things. Very clearly explain that it's not mythology. There is a supreme being from whom everything and everyone emanates. Not exactly created, because God is eternal, and his energies are also eternal, and we are one of those energies. We are the marginal tatastha shakti of the Supreme Lord. So because God is eternal, and he says that early in the Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future will any of us cease to be. Immediately establishing the platform of eternality. Because without that, religion is meaningless. And many people come to that conclusion because they don't accept or understand the platform of eternality. So they say, this is all just a waste of time. We're all going to die anyway, and so, why jump through hoops about all this? But no, Krishna establishes from the very beginning that he's eternal and we're also eternal. And once you accept that, then everything makes sense. Once you have faith, as Krishna says, you never did not exist, and you will always continue to exist. However, in this verse, he's pointing out, Ashradharana Purusha, Dharmasya Paratapa. If you don't have faith in this spiritual process, or you can say religious process, then you will not achieve the goal. And Mrityu Samsara Vardhani, you will come back to this world of birth and death. Actually, liberation is just a byproduct. The real goal of this practice of Krishna consciousness is to reawaken our love for Krishna. And that love for God, that love for Krishna is eternally in the heart. And that's why we keep looking for love. But if we understand our existential situation, that we have a material body that is subjected to the miseries of this material world, and so does everybody else. So you can't, if you're feeling miserable, another miserable person cannot make you happy. And ultimately everybody here who's not on the liberated platform is miserable. It's miserable. Money can't solve that misery. We see that every day. So many wealthy people have money and they're so miserable that they wake up and kill their own citizens. So miserable. Because they won't do what I want them to do. So I ordered, kill them. 30,000 people supposedly killed in Iran recently because they don't like the current leadership and they want to change. And the leaders are so loving, not, that they ordered them to be killed because they won't obey us. So this is the heights of misery. You must be a totally miserable person to wake up and order people to be killed just because they don't want to follow you. So money won't do it. Sense gratification is temporary. That's been established. It's established throughout Gita, like in the 5th chapter, Yehi Sangsparchana Bhoga Dukkha Yona Evati Adyantamata Kote Nate Shuramate Buddha. That an intelligent person can see that the happiness that's derived from bringing the senses in contact with the sense objects, it doesn't last. I am eternal. I am looking for eternal happiness. Ever increasing, eternal happiness, not flickering. And just the opposite, the very things on the material platform that make us happy not only have the potential, but will definitely make us unhappy. A simple example is like ice cream. Most of us like ice cream, right? We used to say as children, you scream ice cream, we all scream for ice cream. So everybody likes ice cream. Now select your favorite flavor. Chocolate, strawberry, rocky road, whatever you like. Now, butterscotch. So you sit down, you take 1 cup. Oh, nice, 2nd cup. Maybe you stretch it to a 3rd. I cannot force you to have a 4th or a 5th. It's the same substance that gave you pleasure, 1st cup, 2nd cup. But you keep eating it, you'll get sick. So that's the nature of material happiness. The very thing or process that you think will make you happy only gives you little things of happiness. And if you keep following or eating or doing whatever, your happiness goes over a cliff. That's stated in one very nice verse. Lord Janardana is speaking. And he says, Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya kurvanti dampate kriya. Tata aniriti apraptir dukkha sukha. So the question is relationship between man and woman, this particular verse. So he says, Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya. To increase the sukh, the happiness, and lower or decrease the unhappiness, that's why man and woman get together. But, lo and behold, tata anavritir aprapti, dukkha sukha. Just the opposite happens over time. The unhappiness increases and the happiness goes down. So that's not only related to the relationship between man and woman, that's anything in this world. Anything. We go chase after anything, political, position, power, money. We chase after these things because we think it's going to increase our happiness and decrease our misery. But lo and behold, just the opposite happens, just like it's happening in Iran right now. In the beginning, the majority of Iranians thought it was a good thing to get rid of the Shah and it's established this theocracy, which is actually totally illegal from the Vedic viewpoint. The leaders of the religious sector should never become the administrative heads. Never. Because then the people have nowhere to turn. You see? The administrative head, according to Vedic culture, is the Kshatriya. The Kshatriya is supposed to be advised by the Brahmanas, the sadhus, who never get involved directly in politics. They advise the leaders, administrative heads, how to lead the society properly. So people will be happy. See? But when you have a theocracy, where the religious, spiritual heads are also the administrative heads, you have no hope. And that's what's happening now. Because they convince you that anybody who doesn't listen to me, they're actually against God. They're against the scripture. Why? Because I'm the head of the religious department. So if I say to do something and you say no, then you're a demon. You're against God. You're against God's will. It's not meant to be like that. The religious, spiritual leaders are supposed to be a separate sector, separate section of society. And they give proper advice to the administrative heads. And this whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken for that purpose. Krishna wanted Arjuna and his 4 brothers to become the administrative heads, not just of Bharat, as we know it nowadays in India, but the whole planet. Because the emperor in Hastinapur at the time was actually the emperor of the whole world. So Krishna wanted them to rule the world. Yudhishthira to be enthroned. And so he's speaking here to Arjuna to convince him to fight. So that his will be done. Because the leaders at the time, Duryodhana and company, they were not doing what Krishna wanted them to do. They were not proper leaders. They were not acting in such a way that people could make gradual spiritual progress and be happy in life. So that's why we have a mess nowadays. We have untrained persons who take up the platform of administrative heads, and the so-called advisors, they either take over the government like we have in Iran right now, or they give bad advice to the king so that they can live comfortably. They give bad advice to the leaders. They become yes men. Yes, that's a wonderful policy, even though a fool can see that it's not. So many crazy things they come up with. Any foolish person can say in advance, this is not going to work. But because the more intelligent class, the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas are the more intelligent class. Because they've sold out to administrators, they just tell them, yes, you do it. But at the same time, just give me money so I can live comfortably. That was not the Vedic culture. The Vedic culture means the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, they give proper spiritual advice to the administrative heads. Right now in the Brooklyn Temple, we're reading from the 4th canto, the story of King Vena. He was a bad ruler, and the Brahmanas tried to advise him properly, but when he wouldn't take advice and he was ruining everybody's life, including the Brahmanas, telling them no sacrifice, no performance, so worship me, you don't worship God, they killed him. Generally, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are not meant to be martial. They're not meant to take up weapons. But this king was so bad that they killed him. So, throughout this Bhagavad Gita, keep in mind that Krishna's convincing Arjuna to do what he's telling him to do, what he wants him to do. But through Arjuna, he's convincing us. Because Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna. He travels with Krishna wherever he goes. He's in the mood of a friend of Krishna eternally. So in this verse, he's telling him that you have to have faith. Obviously, he's saying faith in me, what I'm telling you. You must have faith. Ashradana Purusha Dharmasya Parana. If you don't have faith, Shraddha, Ashraddha, no faith. If you have no faith, then you're not going to achieve the goal. So he was convincing Arjuna, you fight. Have that much faith. I'm asking you to fight. You have that much faith, you fight, and you will achieve the goal. And he said that earlier, back in the 2nd chapter, that even if you don't win the battle, as a Kshatriya, you die in battle fighting for the right cause, you achieve the heavenly planets. Again, this is not for Arjuna, this is for ordinary Kshatriyas, because Arjuna is eternally liberated. But An ordinary Kshatriya is meant to fight. Kshatriya means one who's willing to put his life on the line to protect the citizens. Not to exploit the citizens, to protect the citizens. And if you die in such a mentality, you go to fight to protect your citizens, then you achieve the heavenly planets at least. But because all these Kshatriyas, later on after this, after Krishna convinces Arjuna, they die in front of Krishna, and by Krishna's order, they got liberation. But ordinarily, again, if a king fights for the right cause, you might say even it's a material cause just to protect your citizens, but it's a just cause, it's a pious cause, and therefore they get elevated, at least to the level of demigod life. So these are some of the points. The main point here is that one must have faith. Prabhupada describes the different levels of faith, divided in 3 divisions. The first division is one who, they believe in God, they believe there is a God, but they don't have enough scriptural knowledge to prove that that belief is solid, and therefore they can be swayed. They go to church, they go to mosque, they temple, mandir, they bow down, but they're not asking for, please engage me in your service like we do when we're chanting Hare Krishna. They're asking, please give me a wife, give me a house, give me. That means you want God to be in your service. If I come to you and say, buy me a house, you become my servant. You're my servant. You're going to buy me a house for me to live comfortably? That means you're serving me. So those who go to God, they're considered to be pious because they're not saying that there is no God, but they're trying to use God in their service. Gimme. Whereas the devotees are just the opposite. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitamba, jagadisha kame. Mama janmani, janmaneshwari, bhavatad bhaktira hoitakitwai. Lord Chaitanya taught in his Shikshastika. Nadanam, I don't want wealth. Najanam, I don't want whole tons of followers. Nasundarim, I don't want beautiful or handsome partner. Mama janmani, janmaneshwari. Life after life, just engage me in your service. Life after life means he doesn't even want liberation. Because here Krishna is saying, if you don't have faith, then you have to come back, mrityu samsara varman. You have to come back to the path of birth and death. But the devotee is not even afraid of that. Those who are not devotees means they're greater and lesser degree sinful. So they have to be afraid of death. They have to be afraid of death. Because they don't know exactly, or they have an inkling of what's coming. And it's not pleasant. I think I've told the story here before, but it's a fact that in many hospitals, they have this term, terminal restlessness. They've noticed over decades, centuries of hospital life that when somebody's getting close to death, they become agitated. And nowadays, they just give them some drug to calm them down. But in the past, it wasn't like that. They become agitated, they scream, they yell. What's going on? Why is this? Doctors, nurses have no idea. But devotees know. So one devotee girl, her father was not a devotee, and he was going through that in the hospital. He was yelling out, leave me! Get out of here! Leave me! Because she's a devotee, she knew what was going on. Servants of Yamaraj, known as the Yamadutas, they don't just come at the time of death. They know in advance when you're going to die. And they come and they camp out. And these are not very pleasant looking people. And they come in a whole group, it's not just one person. They come a whole group, sometimes they have their dogs with them. And therefore you find in other cultures they have this understanding of the hounds of hell. That's the dogs of the Yamadutas. Yamadutas, they're very disfigured and they like their job. Their job is to rip that sinful soul out of the body and take them to Yamaraj to be judged. It's not like some religions think there's just one judgment day. No, every day people are being judged. When you die, because 99.9% of the people are sinful, they get taken out of the body and taken to Yamaraj, and they get judged. If they've done some little pious activity, they will get rewarded for that, but most of them have heaps and heaps of sinful reactions to suffer. So they get put in situations where they suffer. So this girl's father, devotee's father, he was going through that. And he saw the Yamadutas. He was yelling, leave me alone, get out of here. So understanding what was happening, she brought him tulsi water and forced him to wear neck beads, and in other words, trying to protect him so that he wouldn't go through that. And there's so many other stories. There's one book distributor from North Carolina. She used to distribute in the airport. So one day, one well-dressed guy, business guy, came through, and we have one book in our collection, BBT collection, called Second Chance. On the cover is a picture of a Jamil lying on the bed about to die, and these Yamadutas are there and anxious to take him, and then the Vishnu Dutas come and say, no, you can't. So that photo's there. So she showed him the book, and he said, no, not interested, and he left. A couple of months later, the same guy came to the same airport and saw her. And he came running up to her. And he said, where's that book? Where's that book? He said, don't you remember me? At first she didn't. And then finally she said, oh, yeah. So why did he want the book so eagerly? So he explained that after he had met her, he went away on a trip. He got sick, I don't know from what, but he fell into a coma. And while he was in a coma, he saw those guys. He remembered, he recognized them from the picture, the painting. Prabhupada never called them paintings, it's the picture. You've seen the picture? Prabhupada would say. From the picture of the Yamadutas trying to grab Ajami. So he remembered. So he came back and he bought the book. Very pious activity. And don't be shy. When we go out and we try to sell Prabhupada's books to the public, Prabhupada stated, I just read one entry this morning from the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada said that if they get money, they're going to use it sinfully. So when you take that money as a donation for spreading Krishna consciousness, for a book, for a festival, for whatever, you're helping them. So don't be shy. Don't be shy to try to get donations from people, because you're actually helping them to overcome the sinful reactions that are piled up over lifetime after lifetime. Okay, what time is it? I can't go on and on, you know that.
I love your teachings.
5 minutes before 7.
Okay, so you tell me when should we stop with some questions, maybe?
You could ask for questions and discussion if you like.
Yeah.
But it's not like there's a sharp cutoff. But it's not like there's a sharp cutoff.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll stop here. There's much more we could say, but if there are any questions on any of those points.
Question.
Yeah, you have a question? Yeah, okay.
Prabhuji, is it possible, I like the way you teach and everything, and of course I'm familiar with you through Brooklyn Temple, but is it possible to share maybe a couple of stories from when you met Prabhupada, or your interactions with Prabhupada, or something like that?
You've heard all those already.
No. Like when did you meet him? Obviously you said it's Henry Street, right?
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not very complicated. I was a student studying civil engineering. I met a devotee on this, just a couple of blocks from my college, J Street. I went to Polytechnic Institute in Brooklyn at the time. Now it's part of CUNY. Now it's part of the NYU conglomerate, so now it's called Polytechnic Institute of New York. Anyway, so I got one little pamphlet, Krishna Reservoir of Pleasure. I read it and it made a lot of sense to me. So I started going to the temple. And I was very fortunate. That was like spring '73. I was very fortunate that Prabhupada came to visit New York shortly thereafter. So I actually got to see him and hear him speak. Because I had noticed that boys were frantically, painting the place and building this, building that. I asked, what's going on? And they said, Prabhupada is coming, Prabhupada is coming. So I was fortunate to meet Prabhupada. And then joined shortly thereafter, because in those days, if you came to the temple, a few times consecutively, and you were obviously not crazy. I mean, externally maybe not crazy, internally definitely crazy, just chasing after crazy ideas and crazy things. But then they would say, hey, you understand the philosophy, why don't you move in? Like that. It didn't take very long to invite you to move in, so I moved into the Hare Street Temple. Then in 1974, because as part of my civil engineering training, I learned how to program computers. Computers in those days meant mainframe computers. The computers nowadays didn't come till the 80s, early 80s. So they said, we're getting ready to computerize Prabhupada's book production. At that time it was called ISKCON Press. And so they invited me to become part of the team. So that's how I got involved in book publication. And then in early 75, they shipped all of us, they closed down ISKCON Press, and then we became BBT. When the BBT office was in Los Angeles. So all of us in New York who were involved in the book production, we got shipped out to Los Angeles. And then, shortly thereafter, Prabhupada came to LA, and I wouldn't say induced, they forced the book publication team to engage in that marathon you may have heard of, because Prabhupada was translating. And he said, I'm so far ahead of you in my translation work, and you haven't produced the books that I've already translated. I'm not going to do any more until you catch up. So that meant we had to produce 17 volumes to catch up. So the leader of the BBT at the time, Rameshwari, was thinking, okay, we're doing like one book a month. We can maybe do 2 books a month. Prabhupada said, no, I want all 17 volumes in 2 months. So then Rameshwari, this was on the morning walk, and then Rameshwari made the mistake of saying, but Prabhupada, that's impossible. And I'm sure most of you know what Prabhupada said.
Impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary.
Yes, impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary. So when the managers realized that Prabhupada was serious, then they had to make a schedule to fulfill Prabhupada's desires. So I was, again, running programming, computer. At that time, computers had been downsized to what was called now a mini computer, about the size of an average refrigerator.
From that big to
Yeah, so I was programming that to drive the typesetting equipment. And it was a very tight schedule. I was a brahmachari. I would go to sleep at like about 10, 10:30 the latest, get up by 3 o'clock, chant half my rounds before Mangal Arti, and then the other half afterwards, and then go straight to BBT. It was so tight because we weren't even allowed to leave to go and take lunch. They would bring lunch to us. So we practically lived in the office all day.
I heard story.
And then because we did it, we actually produced those 17 volumes, 15 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita and 2 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then because of that, all of us on the team got a chance to go on a morning walk with Prabhupada. Because, Prabhupada had this inner circle of leaders and sannyasis. They were the ones that usually went with Prabhupada on morning walks, not just the average devotees. So I'm just an average devotee, but because of that marathon, I got a chance to go with Prabhupada. Now, being somewhat literate, not illiterate, I was known as somebody who asked really good philosophical questions. So the devotees said, come on, ask Prabhupada a question. So I was taken off guard. Morning, when am I going to ask Prabhupada? So I said, oh, Srila Prabhupada. In Christianity, I was raised in Christianity, they have this concept of virgin birth, that the Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus without contact of a man. So Prabhupada took a few steps, we're walking. So the Prabhupada said, but there has to be a father. Maybe not an ordinary man, but there has to be a father. And we all say God the Father. So I was satisfied. So walking on, come on. I was so foolish that I succumbed to the devotee's desires to ask Prabhupada a question, but I asked a really foolish question. I mean, as soon as I asked it, I knew it was foolish. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, in this material world, all of us, we're souls in a body, and we think we're this body, but inside that same body, there's so many other living entities. In your body right now, there's so many living entities. Sometimes you're conscious. You may have a worm in your intestine, but most of the time you're unconscious. There's so many living entities in your body, but you're thinking that this is me. But it's not. It's just a vehicle. You're being carried around in that vehicle, and so many other living entities are also being carried around in the same vehicle. So I asked Prabhupada, is it like that in the spiritual world? And Prabhupada said, what did he say? And somebody repeated the question, and Prabhupada gave a one-word answer, no. And then I realized immediately, that's stupid. In the spiritual world, every entity is that person. That's a distinction between spiritual and material. In the material world, we're not these bodies, and also what to speak of all the other bodies that are inside this body. But in the spiritual world, every tree, every human, every peacock, everything, that's one spiritual entity. There's no other entity, that's just that person. And everything's personal. The trees are person, water is person, everything is personal. So that was it, in terms of direct interaction. Of course, when an initiation, like in '76 at the Mayapur Festival was when I got he wasn't present at my first initiation. That was initiation by proxy. But the second initiation I got directly from Prabhupada at the Mayapur Festival in 1976. So,
What month, if I may ask?
Mayapur Festival was right around Gopurnima time. So it varies by the moon cycle. So that year, after Mayapur, at that time when Prabhupada was still here, after Mayapur, we'd go on to Vrindavan. So I got to travel, not with Prabhupada, but we met up in Delhi. Prabhupada was staying in a house of some wealthy supporter. And it was my first trip to India, '76. And it was the first time I got to see how the higher levels of Indians live. Because, especially in Mayapur, we landed in Calcutta, and then we went to Mayapur. And you see that's how ordinary people live. But this was a mansion. Everything white marble. And so that's what Prabhupada was saying. But we all didn't stay on that level. But then there was a Pandal program. They erected a big Pandal tent, and Prabhupada was speaking. And so if you have the original 7-volume Lilamrita, in that first volume you'll see a picture. Prabhupada is on the Pandal on the stage, and I'm down a couple of levels, I'm playing Mridanga. So that's one picture you'll see where I'm in the same picture with Prabhupada. There are others.
That'd be awesome to see.
There are others, like in LA, after class every morning when Prabhupada gave class, he would hand out cookies to the children. And there was somebody would bring a big platter of Prabhupada cookies, the butter cookies, and then he would hand out to the kids. So there's at least a couple of pictures where you see Prabhupada is handing out the cookies, and I'm standing to Prabhupada's right, and in one picture here, another Maharaj is standing right next to me, and we're both looking enviously at the cookies. Because the senior devotees didn't get the cookies, only the children. So we're like, is that okay?
Oh, thank you so much. I never heard this story before.
Yes,
You need more water?
You're discussing, Prabhu, about the destination for persons upon their death.
Yeah.
So I have a question about that. So, if my experience as a imperfect or not always successful devotee in my endeavors to share Krishna consciousness with others, there are some persons who I've shared Krishna consciousness with them in one way or another, and I know that they've therefore made some advancement because Krishna consciousness is the absolute truth. And anyone who comes in contact with the absolute truth gets purified by Krishna. However, but I see that when I see certain persons, I know they didn't. Some people I know they became devotees who I met, and other people no. So, but I know that they're on the path, but just by coming in contact with Krishna. So what I'm wondering about with that background is, so we've read in Srila Prabhupada's books how the many generations of devotees, ancestors, they get liberated because of the devotee, and I have some experience of that with no need for me to provide the details now in this forum, but like with my father, I know that in the course of his life, had a little prasadam here, saw me chant a little bit here. He loved me in his way, but he was definitely a non-devotee and definitely thinking about all the things that non-devotees think about during his life. But then I know that some very special things happened upon his death. So for me, what I read in Prabhupada's books, I saw it came to life after death, and I said, okay, that was a great faith builder for me. So then the question is, so then what about I haven't read that particular explanation by Prabhupada and regarding the Vedic teachings about persons who aren't my ancestors, but persons who I've given some Krishna consciousness to, but they didn't take up the process or didn't take it up much. So upon their death, what happens? How can I figure out what happens to them? So I'm thinking, like I told you, I heard that someone just passed away who I knew quite well, and they took some Krishna consciousness, but then their vision, I think, was to an extent impersonal. So they didn't take it up, they didn't accept it, they didn't embrace it. And then there's other persons I'm thinking, like in my day-to-day life, in my career, I don't tell people usually I'm a devotee, but some people, I tell them a little something here and there. So that they know, so they got some Krishna consciousness just by that. What happens to them when they die? If I don't give them, if they don't take up more Krishna consciousness during the course of their life here and after.
That's called Agyata Sukriti. They had no intention of actually searching out Krishna, or understanding Krishna, so what to speak of surrendering to Krishna, but because a devotee, in this case yourself, induce them to have some connection, they will benefit. It's said that Lord Nityananda, he doesn't care what your background is. He is so merciful. He doesn't care that you're 20% impersonalist or a total demon or whatever. He's willing to give love of God to everybody. They attacked him, they hurt him. Lord Chaitanya was ready to kill him, but he said, no, in this lifetime you promise not to take up weapons and kill anybody. So the real weapon in this age of Kali is the chanting of Hare Krishna. So anybody who has chanted, heard, or even tried not to hear, like when we go on Harinam, chanting on the street, we're chanting Hare Krishna, and immediately some people go like this. They cover their ears. It's too late.
It's too late.
You already earned it.
Once already went in, it's in the heart, and the process has started. So we think sometimes that if somebody's not liberated in this life, then all. But what is one life compared to the millions of births that they've taken in this material world? So if you've given somebody a beginning push by prasadam, by chanting, by books, philosophy, they will be given a chance to continue. How fast they progress, that's up to them, because Krishna ultimately doesn't interfere with our free will. Although sometimes he does. Prabhupada once said, once you take to this process of Krishna consciousness, Krishna will drag you back to Godhead, kicking and screaming. So we shouldn't force Krishna to drag us back kicking and screaming. We should be intelligent enough to know this is real. The chanting is the way, it's the Yuga Dharma. So just chant. Chant japa, chant, and then do as much seva as you can. In your case, you're a very busy person, obviously, but you take time to run this kind of program. That's beyond commendable. So Krishna's noting all that. So, but everybody can do something. And if you don't have time to do anything, then give some of your hard-earned money to Krishna. Krishna appreciates that. Some people foolishly think, well, if God is the source of everything, why do I have to give him anything? No, it's for your benefit. It's not that he needs it. Prabhupada used to say, especially those that was living in the temple, Krishna doesn't need your sabji, chapati, rice, and all that. He's giving you a chance to cook for him for your benefit. Because if you please Krishna with your sabji, rice, chapati, then one time when I was in Potomac, I used to like to serve the Sunday feast. So there was one Indian gentleman, wealthy family, he also liked to serve. So he was standing next to me, we were serving the Sunday feast. And he said, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. He said, we're a little bit puzzled. We can cook better than you guys. Rice, sabji, dal. But why do we like your food so much? Why do we come here to eat your food? Seriously, we can cook better than you. So I said, you really want to know? You really want to know? That's because it's been offered with love and devotion to Krishna. And Krishna accepted it. So now you're tasting Krishna's love. You're tasting Krishna's mercy. That's why it's called prasadam. It means Krishna's mercy. So it's not just about the taste. Of course, we should try our best to make things perfect for Krishna, make a perfect puri, and Prabhupada drove that home. especially the interaction with Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna was making chapatis for Prabhupada. But he would come in and the chapati would be flat. Prabhupada said chapati means hot and it has to be puffed up. So he'd make him go back and forth until he came back with a perfect chapati. So one should always try to do things perfectly for Guru and Krishna. But ultimately it's not, because where are we getting the ingredients from? Everything comes from Krishna. So by giving back to Krishna what comes from Krishna, but with love and devotion, as Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prasti. You give me with love and devotion. Patram, what's patram? You know. Patra,
The leaf,
leaf. Pushpa,
the flower,
flower. Phalam,
fruit.
fruit. Toyam, water. Krishna says those four simple things. But Prabhupada said it's not that you're a rich man and you just give Krishna some leaf and so. No, you should make a big feast for Krishna if you have the money. But what Krishna is saying is, I'm looking for your love. I'm looking for your, and love means service. See, before Prabhupada, I don't think anybody translated Bhakti Yoga as devotional service. They just translated it as devotion. Bhakti means devotion. But Prabhupada made the point, devotional service. Because love means service. And the example I like to use is if you're a young lady, you meet this guy, and he keeps telling you how he loves you, but he never takes you out, he never does anything, never gives you anything. After a while, you say, just leave me alone. So, love, devotion means service. You have to show it practically. And that's why Prabhupada established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so we can all be trained how to practically show devotion and love to Krishna. Not just, I convince myself mentally that I'm a big Krishna Bhakta, but they don't know beans about Krishna. And they never do anything for Krishna. Instead of giving to Krishna, you always go and ask Krishna, give me. Or I give you 100 rupees and now I ask you for 1 crore of rupees. You see? So that's not how it should work. The devotee should be willing to give everything. So Krishna is watching how the mood in which we approach him. But Prabhupada said, in one famous class in Los Angeles, he said, you won't go back to God until you're 100% surrendered, until you have no material desires. So all the devotees were like, because we knew this is like an impossible goal coming from where we're coming from. And Prabhupada picked up on it immediately and said, okay, 90%. And everybody was still kind of surprised, okay, 80%. All right, 70%, that's it. In other words, we have to make some effort, even if we're not 100%. So your friends, your family members who came in contact, that's Agyata Sukriti, they weren't intending to please Krishna anyway, but by giving some money, by taking prasadam, by hearing something about Krishna, the seed has been planted, and Krishna will give them a chance to fructify. In the next life, they can finish in the next life, or 10 lives. If it even takes 10 lives, so what? 10 lives out of billions of lives that we've taken birth in this material world. The point is that they're on the trajectory back to home, back to Godhead. So understanding that, we should try our best to get everybody a chance to engage in Agyata Sukriti. That's what Harinam is all about. That's what book distribution is all about. Giving everybody a chance to do some little something to take a step towards Krishna. And Krishna will never forget them, because they've taken that step. Prabhupada explained, Krishna is thinking, for so many lifetimes you've turned your back against me. And now finally you're turning around. So he will make all arrangements. And sometimes it's not like we think. I'll finish with this example. In Portland, Oregon, back in the 70s, there was one Muslim guy who was coming to the temple. I wasn't there, but Dinabandhu, you know Dinabandhu. He tells the story, he was there. So this Muslim guy was coming, and he was coming more and more interested and getting deeper and deeper into Krishna consciousness. And then one day, the devotees heard that he died in a car accident. So they wrote to Prabhupada. They said, Prabhupada, why would Krishna do that? This Muslim guy is taking an interest in Krishna consciousness. Why would Krishna take him like that? So Prabhupada wrote back, because in this lifetime it would have been very difficult for him. You know, from the background he was from. So Krishna gave, okay, we cut this one off to start you over fresh, then you can have an easier time to make progress. So it doesn't always make sense to us, but Krishna knows exactly what he's doing. Krishna is Chaitya Guru. He invites us or encourages us to take an external guru, who is the manifestation of Krishna. Externally, Diksha Guru initiates us, Shiksha Guru gives us the instructions. But Krishna is always there as Chaitya Guru. Once you start the process, he will make all the little arrangements. And sometimes, again, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. There was one devotee who had joined, stayed for some time, but then he fell away. Went back to all his bad habits. So one night, he went out on a date with his girlfriend of the day, whoever that was. They went to see a movie. And after the movie, they were walking, and some guy had a huge German Shepherd dog. And somehow the dog got away and charged at this ex-devotee and bit his nose off. So because of that, he took it as a wake-up call. So again, he gave up all his bad habits, came back to Krishna consciousness. So we may think, oh man, that's horrible. But Krishna knew exactly what this particular soul needed to wake up. Wake up, Jeev Jago. So that's what the Panchatattva, they're saying. They're saying, wake up, wake up. Stop chasing after all this phantasmagoria. It's not going to make you, even if you get it, it doesn't make you happy. As we can see, people get money. People here in New York, we see it every day. People have money, they can pay rent, $5,000, $6,000 a month. Or they buy a $2 million apartment, and they're still miserable. They're still miserable. So money will never buy happiness. Speculation, like the scientists do, they titillate their minds and they think they're so wonderful, great thinkers. You remember Sariputta? He told me the story. One time they had a synthesis of science and religion conference that he went to. So this big scientist, Nobel Peace Prize winner, not Peace Prize, Science Prize winner, so they had a conversation. So in the course of the conversation, this scientist came to realize that the devotees don't speculate. They just repeat what is there in the Shastra. He was like shocked. Because for them, no speculation means no fun. Their whole hubris, their whole point in life is to cogitate and, think, and come up with this new example and that new that. To just accept knowledge, that's scary. So we're very fortunate. We've come in contact with this pure knowledge. All we have to do is accept it and follow. And that's what this verse is saying. Have that much faith. That Krishna is saying, when I'm telling you, you accept. And in our case, what we've gotten, Bhagavad Gita as it is, we accept. And just apply it in life, and we'll be happy. All right, thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So we'll do a little kirtan now, and then we'll have prasadam. So, prasadam, you want vegetarian dinner and prasadam. As but Archita was
Nice
explaining
food, not
about
gonna make you
prasadam.
happy
So.
either.
So you don't know for sure. I mean, I could not. Maybe it's not true. Huh?
Try to look at her.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say anything because I don't know.
There you go.
Sasha, can you help with the microphone, please? Microphone? I'm gonna sing the kirtan. If you don't
I'm
mind.
gonna sit over there.
Yeah,
You play harmonica, huh?
yeah. No. I can, if you want to play with Anna, I can play cards.
That's up to you. You're leading, so you get the choice. If you play without it, I'll play cards.
It's better Ricardo.
I'm more proficient with the card tricks,
Oh, okay.
if you don't mind.
No.
Are you singing? Oh. Whatever you think. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Krishna Prasaya Bhutale
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatharini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga.
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 Nitai Gauranga, Nitai
Nitai
Gauranga.
Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Everybody, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol
Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai,
Nitai Gaur Vivinande Hari Bol
Jai, Jai. Srila Prabhu ki Jai, Jai, Sri Jai.
So thanks to all the devotees and friends